Hi, I'm Rob King. Welcome to Homebrew number 39. This is going to be a clone of a Blue Moon. As part of the Homebrew Masterplan, we are coming up to International Beer Day on the 2nd of August. And in honour of that, I am going to brew up one of my favourite drinks, a Blue Moon. Now this is a clone and has a number of interesting ingredients, including coriander seeds and sweet orange peel. This has been my second attempt at brewing this beer. My first attempt I had to dump because the brew kettle stopped working. However, this message is coming to you from the future. I'm nursing it through right now by clicking the reset switch on the heater. Let's hope this one sees the light of day. Oh, fingers crossed. Brew day. This is the Homebrew Masterplan with 15 homebrews aligned to 15 special events throughout the year. This month we're going to do a Blue Moon clone, just in time for International Beer Day. Now this one is a favourite and we are going to try something for the first time. This one is a step mash with 3 independent rests and a mash out. Let's see how it all goes. Cheers everyone. For ingredients, we're going to use a fine crush for the first time. This was an option on the site I used to purchase the grains and is apparently much better for brewing the bag. Let's see how it goes. The grains then, we have 1.2 kilograms of Europills light lager malt, 1.1 kilograms of wheat malt and 255 grams of flaked oats. For hops, we have 10 grams of Hallertau Millerfrau. Alongside that, we have 2 special additions. We have 25 grams of coriander seeds and 10 grams of sweet orange peel. Of course, we'd also have 5 grams of Irish moss for clarity, 5 grams of Fermented O as a yeast nutrient, and of course, potential for some lactic acid. This time, we're definitely going to need this one. The yeast, meanwhile, is the Fermentis Safe Ale American Ale US 05, a very clean and high attenuation yeast. For equipment, this may be the last appearance of the Aldi mulled wine warmer. I nursed it through 2 tries at this brew. The second time, I think we just about made it. Rest in peace. Of course, also we're going to need a 10-litre fermentation vessel, the normal thermometers, pH meter, refractometer, measuring cylinder, hydrometer and all the other paraphernalia to make sure that we've got a perfect brew. Of course, sanitation to begin with. To get started, we're going to need 15 litres of water. This is the Ashbeck bottled water, which I favour. Now, on this occasion, we also have no water chemicals because the Ashbeck water is nearly perfect for a light lager. Spot on, nice and easy. Our first rest then is at 40 degrees centigrade and this will be for 20 minutes. This is the acid rest and we can add all of the grains at this point. The usual rules apply, giving it a good stir to prevent clumping, and then we can seal up the bag. We stuck stead on 40, that was good. Next we have to increase the temperature for the protein rest. This is at 50 degrees centigrade and will be for 30 minutes. And so our problems start with a thermal cutout kicking in. I did wonder whether it was the lower temperatures causing the problem, but unfortunately it continued through the whole brew. Well, it needed some nursemaiding to get there, but it got to 50. Quite a light milky consistency, would you say? Our third and final rest is the saccharification rest. This is 67 degrees centigrade for 60 minutes. We're in familiar territory now. 15 minutes into this rest, it was time to take a sample so we can check the pH. A bit hot right now, needs to cool down. Measuring the pH, it came in very high at 6.25, so I gave it an initial dose of 6 milliliters of lactic acid and then headed off to Brewfather to find out exactly how much more I might need to add. So after looking at Brewfather, we're adding an extra 4 milliliters of lactic acid. However, I think this was just slightly too much and it did bring it down a bit far. 6 milliliters would have been fine. The original recipe called for 5, that was probably pretty close too. Lesson learned, stick to the recipe. As expected at this early stage, the refractometer reading has come in at 1.020.
The 60 minutes are up.
It's time for mash out. Raise the temperature to 75 degrees centigrade and hold it there for a further 10 minutes. We are coming towards the end and I want to extract as many of those sugars as possible from the grains before we begin to drain the bag. It's time to start bringing up that temperature to the boil. The pre-boil sample is down to room temperature so we can take a reading, and it's come in at 1.042 versus a target of 1.041. We're tracking pretty close to target. Pre-boil, the refractometer is coming in at 1.040. We did bring the pH down a little too far. The pH is now at 5.0. It's time to remove the bag and let it drain. We have heated up 1.2 litres of water for top up, however I'm going to use it as a sparge just again to try and get as much sugar as I can out of those grains. Armed with my new brewing gloves, I'm making every effort I possibly can to get much of that wort out of the grains as I possibly can. We have reached the start of a 60-minute boil. And we can add the 10 grams of Hallertauer Mittelfrau. Moving on to the coriander seeds, which need to be crushed. Now, my first attempt at actual crushing was a little bit chaotic and messy, so on to plan B. Plan B of putting them in a bag was marginally more successful. Live and learn.
This has been a headache, it keeps tripping out, so hopefully we can make it to the end. We're 10 minutes away.
We are down to the final 10 minutes of the boil and suddenly everything happens at once. First of all, we need to put the chiller in the wort to sanitize. Then we need to add 25 grams of crushed coriander seeds, 10 grams of sweet orange peel, 5 grams of Irish moss for clarity, 5 grams of Fermado, which is a yeast nutrient, and we'll just give that a bit of a stir.
Time also for the whirlpool.
And of course it goes without saying, manual reset, manual reset, manual reset. Sigh. Our 60-minute boil is up and it is time to turn off the heat and turn on the chiller to bring the temperature down to 19 degrees centigrade. Now, we talked about this last time. I'm putting the cold water in to circulate from the bottom up as far as the chiller is concerned. And of course there's a leak.
Drat.
It goes without saying, this is just a jinxed brew. One little lesson learned from before that has been successful though is adding food grade grease to the fermenter lid. No more mucking about trying to get the lid off once I've added this little beauty.
Getting close. This has been sanitized I'm going to take the hop spider out.
Another improvement on previous brews is mucking about with a hop spider, which has been a bit of a nightmare to drain out the remaining water that's stuck in the clogged up hop spider. So on this occasion I'm simply transferring the hop spider into a jug and letting it drain out into the jug.
The reason for sanitising the jug was in the hope exactly this would happen. I wanted to get a bit more out of the hop spider. Knowing the difference between the hot and the cold tap helps. I thought I'd speed it up and actually turned up the hot instead of the cold. We're just a smidge below 20 and call it too long. Cooling off.
The DIY whirlpool is working superbly. This whirls the wort to bring hop matter and any other materials into the centre to make it easier and cleaner to drain. While that's all happening, meanwhile, back at the ranch, time for cleaning. It's time to take a reading, and the original gravity has come out at 1.050 versus a target of 1.053. It's time for transfer, aerating as we go. However, letting it overflow like this was not a wise idea. During its time in the fermenter, you'll see mould appearing on the handles. I'm just pleased to have made it to this stage. However, the problems did cause a few issues. For example, there was too much liquid left over and the resulting OG was lower than I was expecting. However, we made it. It's time to pitch the yeast 1 full packet or 11.5 grams of Safe Ale US-05. And we'll give it a good old mix. Brew day is over, it's time to put the wort in the fermenter and top up my weird and wacky airlock and let it ferment at 19 degrees centigrade. I wasn't originally planning to use the fermentator for this brew, however a last minute unexpected hot spell meant that it was a wise idea to pop it in the fermentator.
In the fermenter, fermentation stages next. Day 1, we have action. Gosh, the aroma's still good. It's day 4 PM. Sandy shores. Time to clean out the bubbler, I think. That funny airlock thing needs to clean too. Clean up complete. Still active here at the top.
It's day 21 and it's time for transfer. First we're going to take a sample so we can calculate that final gravity and ABV. And we're going to use some of that food grade grease to just grease around the edge of the lid. That makes sure we don't have a leaky bucket. The clarity and the colour of the wort is already looking pretty darned good. Transfer is complete and it's going to go back in the fermentator, this time at the lower temperature of 7 degrees centigrade. Effectively, it's a cold crash for 14 days. Time for cleanup. Not too bad on this occasion. In fact, I think we probably could have salvaged the yeast here to use again. Maybe something for the future.
Colour looks fab.
Our final gravity reading then came in at 1.009 versus a target of 1.011. That's pretty close, but just a little drier. This gives us an ABV of 5.8%, just a tad above the target of 5.5%. Two weeks later and bottling day has arrived.
A little bit of pressure.
I am very excited to see how this one turns out. In fact, it looks a little darker than I was expected, but the clarity is already amazing. The plan is to transfer 4 litres into the mini keg for carbonation and then the remainder into bottles. Now the mini keg has been in the fridge to cool it down. That will help us stop foaming when we're doing transfer. The result is 4 litres in the mini keg and 4.2 litres ready for bottling. We will pressurise the mini keg to 10 psi and put it into the fridge for 2 weeks. That should give us the level of carbonation that we're looking for. A quick double check of the final gravity, but no surprise, it remains static at 1.009.
Only a very tiny amount of sediment left in the bucket, which gives me an idea.
4.2 litres, and we want to carbonate this quite high, so we're going to use 9 grams of sugar per litre, meaning we come out at 38 grams of priming sugar, all of which we're going to put into a sugar wash to help it dissolve more easily.
Everything here's been sanitised.
Given the clarity of the wort, I am simply going to use a funnel to fill each of the bottles by simply pouring from the jug. This was nice, quick and easy, and moves us on straight to bottle capping, which is nice and easy with the tabletop capper. All in all, we have 4 litres in the mini keg and 12 330ml bottles. Back in 2 weeks for tasting.
Wow, this looks absolutely fabulous. It has a nice little haze to it, which is the natural colour. It's a beautiful yellow orange colour. Very light head, not sure about the carbonation, though there's plenty of bubbles, so I think it's carbonated. The gas had run out, I just had to change it to pour. Aroma, definitely citrusy. Don't quite get the coriander. Let's give it a taste. Ooh. Oh! So, very light on the mouthfeel, very smooth indeed. Lovely light flavour. I'm going to be interested doing a shootout on this one, just see how close it is, because that is delicious. There is just no bitterness to the aftertaste at all. It's just very smooth. How would I describe that flavour? In taste, the carbonation is very good. I have to say I am very pleased indeed with the results of this one. This is for International Beer Day. Cheers everyone, like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Good health. Carbonation improved on that second pour, as did the head.
still delicious. Time to test the bottle. Carbonation really good in the bottle. I'm surprised. Normally I would expect the keg to be more carbonated, but I do like a bit of carbonation. Lovely head, look at that, white, absolutely white. I think we've got good clarity here. I think it's condensation that's making it look a bit hazy, but actually hopefully you can perhaps see that. But yeah, you hold it up to the light. Perfectly clear. I'll do that shot in a minute. Aroma. Ooh, a little stronger in the bottle. Bit of a nicer aroma. Cheers. Oh, that's still an amazing drink. So still very smooth. Still light on the mouthfeel. There is a lot of flavour in this drink. I'm not quite getting the orange, but you definitely get a touch of something citrusy. I think some of that mouthfeel is the coriander. But wow, carbonation superstar. This one is delicious. Like and subscribe. Cheers everyone. Happy homebrewing. That's 9 down and 6 to go. The Blue Moon clone was the best yet. But the Homebrew Masterplan is struggling to stay on target. I've gone back to basics for the Marzen with a 5-litre recipe, but still haven't started the summertime juicy IPA. This is all going to be a big squeeze. If it all goes wrong, I still have the Clonenberg and the Dunkel and some Blue Moon clone still to drink. Look out for the shootout, outtakes and retrospective in the next few weeks. Meanwhile, wish me luck for the aforementioned juicy hazy IPA. That should be next. Still, it's all good fun and keeps life interesting. Please comment, like and subscribe. Happy homebrewing folks, and see you next time.